Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you enjoyed last week's videos. Pretty exciting. Rolling right into this week with some more hatchlings. It's the best time of year, so let's jump right in. So, clutch number 2 is hatching. And although I am disappointed that the super or possible super hypo tiger didn't get it done, it's never disappointing to see a nice big pile of Exanthic tigers. Now obviously there's paw sets in there because this is a head-to-head pairing, but this is the easiest time to identify them. So what I like to do is I like to take every baby, rather than leave them in a big clump and a big cluster together for the first couple weeks, I set them up individually in moist, really basic bins. I know a lot of you guys aren't fans of racks, but this is where they come in handy. I can individually organize each baby and keep track of their details from day one. Hatch date, weight, any genetics going on, ID numbers, feeding records, shed records, all of the above. A lot of my customers really appreciate getting that information. I like keeping it detailed as possible for everything, so that's how I do it that way. And the racks really help me keep them organized and space efficient. Although there's going to be a lot of them this year. So I'm going to put the camera down. I'm going to start going through some of these. Maybe I'll show you a couple really nice ones, but otherwise got to get rocking and rolling here. There's a lot of work going on today, so let's do this. Alright, so the carpet python season just going to keep on rolling. Good times rolling, right? So my patrons actually got to see exclusive the first tiger head Exanthic clutch. We're pulling them out, showing them off, sexing them, weighing them, doing all that stuff, getting them into their baby bins. So that's why you didn't see a whole lot of that in last week's video, but you did get to see them. It's kind of hard for me to remember to pick up the camera at every second when I've got multiple clutches hatching at the same time, a lot of stuff going on. I'm getting them prepped and ready. Hatching space is filling up, and it's a great season so far. So apologize if I'm not filming everything that you guys would like to see. But with that being said, check it out. This is clutch number 2. This is another tiger head Exanthic to tiger head Exanthic pair. So we've got a lot of beautiful babies in here, a lot of wonderful new lives. When identifying Exanthic stuff, it's really hard, so take your time, go back and revisit your initial observations, always triple check yourself. But what I'm going to do is get all of these guys rinsed off, individually weighed, sexed, and housed, and then they can start adjusting and working on shedding off that egg skin. But I wanted to talk about the Exanthic trait before get fully into all of that. The Exanthic trait has thus far come in as a recessive, and it's always been accepted as a recessive. That being said, myself and many other folks working with just straight coastal Exanthics or straight Papuan Exanthics, you can see the hets, right? You can see it. Now this was a head-to-head pairing, so it kind of presents me an interesting opportunity, and actually this is my 4th head-to-head pairing, so I've got a little bit of experience under my belt now. The heterozygous animals carrying one copy of the Exanthic gene actually look silver, black, gray, white, whatever you want to say. They have an Exanthic sort of look. Obviously the homozygous or superform animals have that even more so. Silver eyes, darn near bluish looking in silver, all that good stuff. Really truly silver and black animals, right? Now we obviously know coastals naturally have some various base colors, grays, tans, browns, yellows, things like that. So there's a lot of variables that we can't control there, but by definition, an incomplete dominant trait that has a homozygous or superform is defined as one that in its single gene copy can be identified visually, okay? We're not talking about het pied markers like in ball pythons. I'm talking about like a visual difference. So a non-Exanthic animal just has whatever browns, blacks, and tans. A heterozygous or single gene carrier doesn't look the same. Sometimes even have silverish eyes, not like crazy silver, but some silver. some really nice grays to them. My breeders are very gray and black, like they truly are. They're not visuals, and I've produced visuals, and so I know the difference, and I can see that right off the rip. Visual Exanthics are almost blue looking when they hatch, things like that. But when you have a het-to-het pairing, in theory you have 3 phenotypes displaying itself in that clutch. You have your visual Exanthic, so the homozygous 2 gene carriers. You have the heterozygous or single gene carriers, and then you have a small percentage of those that didn't get either copy. Small percentage, right? So in theory, you have 3 different looks, and when I look there, I see 3 different looks in color tone. So this begs the question, in the Morelia world, at least, I'm not going to make implications about anything else, but at least in carpet pythons, are we accurate in referring to this Exanthic trait as recessive? We don't have an authority, we don't have a body or a commission that says yes, no, makes a judgment, final ruling. We just sort of collectively decide upon this. I personally like the labeling system of referring to it as hets and whatnot, because I don't want to call things super Exanthic. I'm already in my habits. I'm kind of a creature of habit in that regard. So I don't necessarily mind the labeling of hets versus non-hets, but I think it is worth having a discussion about maybe as a collective community referring to this trait as an incomplete dominant trait. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Try and keep it civil. I know there's some harsh feelings and intense opinions on this because it has implications on people's past breedings, all this and that. I don't mean to ruffle any feathers. I just want to generally bring this topic back up because we sort of had so much controversy around it 5-6 years ago that everybody just didn't want to touch it, which is also probably why not many people participated in this project until now. So let me know what your thoughts are. If you've ever seen visuals hets, pos hets in person without any crosses, just straight, you know, coastal, nothing else in there, because that seems to add other variables in there that complicate it, but let me know. This right here is a beautiful possible het Exanthic tiger. Stripey me likey. So I'm going to get through processing all these babies and I'll pick the camera back up shortly. We'll see what else is going on because it's a busy week here. Alright, so 12 of the 14 babies from clutch number 3 for the season. The second of 2 tiger head Exanthic pairings again this year. Got those guys all set up. Completely different results in clutch number 2 from clutch number 1. Clutch number 1, literally all of the animals were striped. Every single one I would label a tiger, period. The second clutch, there's a lot of animals that I would not label tigers, and I'm not labeling them as tigers. Their spotting and dorsal pattern is organized in a stripe. Some might even have small sections of striping or even flank striping, but it's not enough for me to call it a tiger, and there's a couple that are on the fence. Anyway, wonderful, beautiful, healthy animals. Very happy that everybody's coming out healthy, well developed so far. Everything's looking great. Now I'm going through this clutch to make sure everybody's out and that I've got my remaining babies and their eggs accounted for and that my math lines up. But I found something quite interesting that I thought I would show you. So this is one of the 2 remaining baby carpet pythons, and as you can see, he or she is started the laborious process of pipping and slicing their way out of the egg. This is about the size of a carpet python egg, right? So keep this in mind. The 14th and final baby, the second of the last 2, is in an egg this big. And this egg was laid at the bottom of the clutch. So I didn't know it was this small until just now, removing all the old hatched ones off of the clutch to make sure everybody's accounted for. But look at the size difference. I mean, it's half the size. There's a baby in there, and it's already sliced, it's already pipped, so it's alive. What condition it's in remains to be seen. If it's healthy remains to be seen. I hope it is, and that it's just a tiny little runt. I've had tiny little runts before. I've had twins before. Twins tend to hatch out half the size of their siblings, and they do just fine. They just start smaller and take a lot longer to get up to that size. So, fun little interesting discovery that I thought I would share with you guys. So, I don't know, have you ever seen a smaller carpet python egg? I mean, that's like green tree python size egg right there. So, tiny little baby. We'll see what hatches out of that. Hopefully in the next couple hours or day, that baby will be out and I'll be able to show you guys what's inside. For anybody who keeps and or breeds crested geckos, I had a little incident with this dude the other day that I thought was noteworthy and worth sharing. This is Marcel. He is some sort of like a hypo phantom of mine, and he's a really good dude we've had for a while. And the other morning I saw him everting a hemipene and he was licking it a bunch. Didn't think much of it until I came home and he was running around with that thing hanging out. So I said, well, that's not good, that could be damaging, and went right to work. And for any of you who've ever dealt with a snake prolapse, I just basically did the same thing. So I grabbed a tub, grabbed a bunch of granulated sugar, poured a pile down in there, held this little dude, fortunately he's mild-mannered, and just kind of dipped that thing in there, took a Q-tip, packed it around, and hung out with them for like, half an hour doing that. The idea behind that is the sugar pulls all the moisture out of the tissue that is swollen and too big to go back in theory, and will help shrink it. So I did that, covered it in sugar, let it sit for a while, massaged it a little bit, which he didn't like, tried to push it back in, didn't work, and then had a spare enclosure set up already ready to roll, so I just hosed that down real good and just let him go back in. And later that night I noticed he had it pulled back in and it's good to go. So if you ever have to deal with a hemipenal prolapse or anything, you can treat it just like a rectal prolapse in snakes. Fortunately, I haven't dealt with too many of those, but if you ever do, some food for thought, that helps. So Marcel's good to go. Alright, so it's a few days later. That last bigger egg, baby came out, big and healthy, robust. Moved him into the baby rack with everybody else. That little tiny egg, unfortunately, did not make it. The baby in there was fully developed. It just seemed like there wasn't enough space or yolk devoted to that embryo for it to sustain life all the way through. It's pretty much fully developed, but unfortunately, it was not meant to be. So that clutch, 14 eggs were laid, 13 made it. Checking on the incubator again today, and was hoping this clutch would hatch in time for this video, given the nature of it is a het-to-het pairing. It's het Exanthic IJs or Papuan carpets, whatever you want to call them. And this will be my first time producing them, and I wanted to see if the Exanthic in IJs or Papuans, whatever, is as visibly noticeable in the hets or pos hets as it is in the coastal stuff. And I've just been keeping an eye on the incubator, checking on stuff, and we have our first pips today. This little guy or gal was being shy, but there was a head poking out earlier. We got some pips and slices here. Looks like somebody's trying there. And we do have one bad egg there that you can see. And I didn't pull it because generally bad eggs don't affect good eggs. Like if the embryo in there is healthy, as long as there's not excess water or moisture or anything like that, it should be fine. So although it's not the best looking clutch as far as like eggs and everything overall, we have signs of life. So maybe later today we'll have some more babies out. We'll actually get a look at some of these and see what the odds gods did for us in terms of visual versus pos het Exanthic babies. One way or another, I'm happy to have more Papuan carpets, regardless of what they are. You can never have too many of those. I may be biased, but just saying. So, alright, well hopefully shortly I'll be able to pick this up and show you some more beautiful carpet pythons just in time to wrap this video up. So, alrighty, see you soon. Okay, so it's a full 24 hours later. Checking on this clutch. Babies are starting to come out. That beautiful red Papuan neonate look is awesome. Now they're taking their time. The little guy just poking his head out there. Right there. These guys are already out. But what's really interesting, I thought you might get a kick out of if I can show it to you. Okay, here we go. See this nasty, sweated out, purple, dead, bad egg? It's next to all these good ones. And you got this one that is like sort of green and nasty looking. But there's a baby in it. It's pipped. So why I'm pointing this out is I don't really ever separate or throw those away. Unless they're really nasty or funky, but they don't necessarily make good eggs go bad. So I usually don't worry about it. Food for thought though. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these first two set up and then put the rest back, and we'll take a look at them once they're all out. Happy hatch day. So it's later in the same afternoon, home from work and all that good stuff. The first two babies that emerged yesterday, looking good. One was normal size and healthy. The other one was surprisingly small. I didn't really think about that until I went to just go check on the incubator now again. Everybody's still kind of taking their sweet time, but I investigated the egg that the two came out of, and one of them I thought still felt full, and I kind of peeked in, and that was definitely where the second baby came out that was really small, and I could see that there was a whole second like yolk / embryonic development in there. So I was just looking at it thinking, why was this baby 13 grams? That usually only happens when there's twins. Well, that's exactly what happened. There should have been twins, but it looks like the second embryo didn't take off or didn't develop properly or fully and didn't make it. It died in the egg. So the second baby that came out, 13 grams, tiny little twin size, makes sense. So while we wait for those other ones to come out, I just thought I would tell you that little fun fact I just found out. Pretty neat. Alright, well, I've given this clutch plenty of time. I decided something's up. It's taken way too long for these last eggs to hatch, and I wanted to see what was going on. And it was actually worse than I thought. We've got 2 eggs deceased, babies in the egg. 3 eggs now look like there would have been potential twins should everything have gone appropriate in them. So 3 eggs where there was a baby inside that came out and one that didn't even develop. These remaining 2 look to be 2 visible Exanthics, but they are kinked beyond repair, like not savable. I can see it already, that they're not going to survive. One I wasn't sure was alive, but it just moved, and this one is alive and out of the egg, but has a really bad kink about 2 inches down, actually immediately behind the head and then more. So unfortunately these 2 are not going to make it. It's pretty bad, pretty sad. This guy pipped. There was a slice and I cut it open, and he's no longer, he or she is no longer with us. Definitely didn't develop or absorb yolk fully. So right now I'm looking at 4 babies that came out of the egg. Let me double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct. 4 out of the 8 I was expecting. It could have been a potential 11 baby clutch should all the twins have made it, and it looks like the 2 actual Exanthics that I would have got are not viable at all and will ultimately end up as Crebo food. So didn't go the way I wanted. I got 4 possible hets out of the pairing. They're beautiful Papuan carpets. Those 4 are healthy, but unfortunately didn't hit the Exanthic mark and didn't get a full healthy clutch. But it is what it is. Some of the the variables that happens with breeding, we'll just try again next time. So with that, I'm going to wrap this long video up. Hope you guys have stuck around for all of it. A lot's been happening. A couple more clutches due to hatch soon, so a couple more Papuan carpet clutches, then there will be a little bit of a break in between all the hatching, and then we should hit the jungle stuff to kind of close it out. So yeah, alrighty. You know my spiel. Become a member of USARK if you aren't already. Go check them out, and USARK Florida. I'll have links right here. If you need some 3D printed perching or anything cool for your bins, go check out heliguyserpents.com. If you have any questions, hit them up on Instagram at heliguyserpents. If you want discounts at, well, he's running a discount actually right now long term over at heliguyserpents for a bit, but if you want discounts longer than that, you can join my Patreon. You get other perks. First, access to babies, inside scoop as things are happening before it goes out in video or any social media forum, things like that, plus a wonderful Discord that we have going on. And then last but not least, it's baby season this time of year, so as you're preparing to ship and you're not sure who to ship with, definitely give Reptiles Express a shot. They're my favorite. I've been using them for years, and the more you use them, the better discounts you get on your shipping labels. So give it a roll. You can actually save some money and get the great service that I've been enjoying for the last couple of years. So don't sleep on them. Reptiles Express is my jam. And yeah, that's all I have for you. Thank you to all my patrons, and I will catch you all next week.